The applied nutrition program aimed to educate rural families to grow and use the food needed to provide their diets, especially the diets of mother and children. The beneficiaries are children between 2 to 6 years old and pregnant lactating mothers. The idea is to provide better seeds and encourage kitchen gardens, poultry farming, but this program does not produce any impact. The community kitchen and school gardens could not function properly due to lack of suitable land, irrigation facilities, and low financial investment. Children Welfare Service began in the 1950s. Research began to show the detrimental effects of long-term foster care and separation of children and families. However, through the later years, Children Welfare Service continued to be conceptualized and delivered with more of the caretaking focus than focus on permanency. Most children who were removed from their families for their protection never returned home, nor did they become part of new permanent families. Do you know that various national committees have recommended the discontinuation of fortifying food with vitamin D? In 1953, the President studied fortified foods provide only a minimal part of the individual vitamin D consumption. An attempt should be made to restrict the intake from all sources derived from the production of the skin. Efforts should particularly be made to dispel the concept of vitamin D preparations as tonics, and consideration should be given to the ease with which vitamin D preparations can be accurate through commercial sale.
Developments in home economics and/or dietetics in Canada. The 1950s, a period of social efficiency and, most importantly, women's movement. Home economics helped recognize women's rights to education and participation in Canadian society by allowing them into higher education. It gave them the opportunity to gain experience outside the confines of their homes. In 1956, 60% of women attending co-educational institutions were taking classes that prepared them for housewifery and for lives that located them safely within the feminine sphere. The film, Why Study Home Economics, released in 1955, states that home economics was meant to prepare schoolgirls for family life as housewives, caregivers, and domestic goddesses. This was emphasized more in the books that they used, such as The Good Wife's Guide, a textbook for high school girls. Attitudes towards gender roles influenced the curriculum in home economics classrooms, and the culture of the 1950s was based on combining a corporate agenda with dominant ideas about women's roles in society. So, what was going on in Canadian universities in the 1950s? Let's look at Acadia University, our university. Acadia University provided a degree and a 2-year diploma course in home economics. The degree was divided into 2 majors. The first major in foods and nutrition, and second major in home economics education. Examples of courses offered were biology, chemistry, English, home economics 1 to 15, languages such as French, German, and Latin, physical education, economics, and psychology. Guelph University. In 1952, McDonald Institute of Home Economics in Guelph granted its first home economics degree from University of Toronto. University of Saskatchewan. In 1952, the College of Household Science became the College of Home Economics. In the period 1952 to 1953, the general degree program was revised to provide 2 specializations, teaching and dietetics, which led to the increase in the number of home economics classes. Students introduced an award system to recognize social and athletic participation. Ryerson University. Late 1950s, fashion was one of the 3 options offered under the home economics course. The other 2 were home economics and preschool education. That's the last part.
Did you know that in the 1950s, Canadians used a food guide that was based on nothing but assumptions and recommendations submitted by the provincial nutritionists? Unbelievable, right? Yes, nutritionists used their experience gained from using food rules in their teaching and assumed that since it was post-war time, Canadians needed to gain weight. Therefore, they advised people to eat more meat and more milk. The new abnormal portion sizes have been growing, and so have Canadians. Fast food portion sizes were a whopping 4 times larger than what they were in the 1950s. A portion size of French fries, laden in oil and salt, used to be about 2.4 ounces, and now it has almost tripled to a hefty 6.7 ounces. Talk about soda servings. They have multiplied by 6 from a regular drink being 7 ounces in the 50s now, and we have seen these cups that require 2 hands to hold. Canadians are drinking 42 ounces of sugar and carbonated water. During the Second World War, Canadians used the slogan, "Food will win the war," and believed that it took efficient consumption to give full meaning to the slogan. So during the 50s, which was post-war time, Canadians still hung on to their Canada war cake recipe for their intake estimates.
The 1950s was a period of great economic prosperity. There was an increase in employment and great technological advances at that time. The military men returned home, hooray, and found themselves a girl and settled down. Women took over the care of the home and of the family. Electric stoves, pressure cookers, kettles, toasters, washers, and dryers all proved to make life easier for the housewife, which also allowed them to maintain their good looks while keeping the home spotless.
Modern children fare worse for intake for several key nutrients including fiber, calcium, vitamins, and iron. A research project looked at the diet of 4,600 children aged 4 in 1950 and compared them with similar records taken in 1992. The researchers discovered that in the 1950s, children ate more bread and milk, increased their fiber and calcium intake, drank fewer soft drinks, derived less energy from sugar, and got most of their vitamin C from vegetables rather than juices and soft drinks. They also ate more red meat, giving them more iron. The 1950s also gave rise to Project Operation Santa Claus. Its mission to airlift Christmas supplies to Canadians in remote areas of Canada and all around the world. This started December 1st, 1950 and continues through to the present day. By the 1950s, most Canadians could find a wide variety of foods at their local grocery store. They could also get meat at the butcher and milk products at the dairy. These products came from other parts of the country as well as from nearby farms. Many farmers sold their produce at weekly markets and in nearby towns and cities. With the availability of electricity and the motorized farm equipment, farmers were able to supply more food than they had in earlier decades.